What's up, everyone? I'm JJ Stankevitz. Welcome into another episode of the Colts Show, an Indianapolis Colts podcast. We are presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, and it is my pleasure to welcome to the podcast Colts offensive line coach Tony Sparano Jr. Tony, how you doing, man?
Doing great, JJ. Appreciate it.
It's
great to be here.
It's kind of this sort of dead period in the NFL offensive or the NFL calendar right now. We're in early February, but I could talk about offensive line play with you literally at any point. Any hour of the day, because it's been one of my favorite things to do over year now, 3 going on 4 seasons here in Indy. So excited to get you here on the podcast.
Appreciate that.
I want to start with this. Like, what is something that maybe like the general public either can't know or like gets wrong, or you would just want to like communicate about offensive line play in the NFL?
The first thing I would say is there's usually, it's simple, but there's usually more than meets the eye when it comes to the offensive line. So a lot of the times when you're watching something, it may seem apparent that, the breakdown in this was attributed to this player or, it was this. The reality could be far from that. It could be, it could be a scheme issue. It could be something involving a different player, a different position. There's a bunch of different things that go into what these guys do. I always joke with them because obviously they have a very difficult job when you talk about just having a line up. And let's say, hey, I know who I'm blocking. And that someone is Jeff Simmons or it's, Will Anderson or it's Danielle Hunter. It's one of these great players. Obviously blocking those guys is really difficult, but then you add into it, the other kind of jobs that they have within a play, the other assignments they have based on the schemes that we're running. There's usually layers or multiple levels to what they have to do and how much they have to see or process at a given time. So I would just say that. I would say normally there's a little bit more than meets the eye when it comes to the offensive line. I think the things that those 5 guys can do when they're truly working together in concert with one another and seeing the game the same way is pretty special.
I remember when I was in Chicago, I used to cover the Bears, and I was kind of told by one of the Bears offensive linemen, like, because I had written something like, hey, I think it was the left tackle got beat or something. And, it was a play where he got it looked like he got knocked over by the D end. And he kind of off the right was like, hey, the left guard, his footwork was off and I kind of stepped on his foot. And that's why it looked like I got ran over. And it's like, those are like those little details
that's exactly right. It's stuff like that. That's why again, I know it sounds cliche at times, but that's why to me, it's playing on the offensive line is the ultimate team position. It's such a selfless position because it truly is not about one player. And even when you have great players, obviously we're blessed to have Quenton Nelson. He'd be the first one to tell you that without the guys that are playing up there with him, he can't do anything because it's not about one man, and without being able to trust the man next to you on either side, and without being able to trust the communication from the center, without being able to trust maybe, hey, an alert that, our right tackle is making with what he's seeing. Say Quentin's pulling from the left to the right. Well, he's not going to have vision all the way across the ball right away. So what we do in order to alert him of things that are going on is the players that are on that side, the right side, if they see something, we have different words we use to give him a heads up for different things and an alert that something may be coming. He's trusting that communication, and he's trusting that if they see it, they're going to make the call, and he's going to trust that when they make that's through the study and the preparation we've done throughout the week that, hey, man, that indicator is going to lead to this. It allows them to play faster, and it all kind of ties together. Without that, if you're just out there and you're freelancing and you're just one man, even when you're really talented, you're never going to be a consistently great player in this league. Just won't happen.
I'm sure like our listeners, our viewers have heard like the 5 as 1 phrase for an offensive line. And that's something that I think is kind of maybe hard to almost conceptualize sometimes, where you see it's like, well, okay, this guy, you think you see on TV, this guy got beat. But if, kind of like I was just saying, like if 5 aren't playing as 1, that could lead to one guy getting quote unquote beat, where it might be the fault of someone else for not being on their details or something.
Correct. It might be somebody not hearing the communication. It might be somebody not echoing a call. It might be somebody being laid off the snap count. like you said, somebody took poor footwork or didn't, hey, we've got a run called and it looks like, the guard had an issue, but really the tackle didn't take the right footwork. He didn't fit the combination block correctly. It's all these different things. And sometimes we forget these guys, are not, it's not a video game. It's not Madden. These guys are real people. And so you're out there and they're all a little bit different. Some guys are bigger. Some guys are quicker. Some guys have, a longer stride than others. So they really need those reps of playing together and, fitting those combinations, setting together in pass protection, understand where each other's going to be and the timing of those things. It's all really important because it's not just a plug and play. Well, everybody's uniform. They're all identical. They're all a little bit different. So, you coach the technique and the fundamentals. You want to try and get them in as the same or as similar as spots as we can. But the feel is always a little bit different with each player. And that's where the repetition of us working together and understanding where we need to be for one another is really important.
All right, I want to talk about Quenton Nelson. He was named this year to his 8th consecutive Pro Bowl, which just for posterity's sake, he's the first player in Colts history to earn Pro Bowl honors in each of his first 8 seasons. He's the first Colts player since Peyton Manning to be selected to 8 consecutive Pro Bowls, and he's the second offensive lineman in NFL history to be named to Pro Bowls in each of his first 8 seasons alongside Hall of Famer Joe Thomas. What is it like? It's hard to boil Q down to one thing because he's so many things. But what are the things that make Quenton Nelson that level of a player to earn those accomplishments that he has had over his career?
It sure sounds like he's been coasting, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
I mean, you hear that. I mean, he's a look. He the thing I would say about Quenton above all, Quenton's care factor for this team and this line, this city, this franchise is off the charts. Playing football here and being a Colt means so much to him, and that's a special thing. And I think that it's tangible. You can feel that, and he wears that on his sleeve, and I think it rubs off on the guys that are in that room with him and that are on the offense with him and on the team with him. And it's a special thing, and I think the thing that's special about, obviously Quenton's very talented. All right, God's blessed him with a lot of ability. But what's special about him is the work ethic and the drive to make the most of that he's able to pair with that ability is special. There's a lot of players in the league that are talented. They don't all, and very few of them have a work ethic that's anything like the one that he has. Most players would, hey, I've made a few Pro Bowls. I've had a big contract. I've been all pro a few times. I'm good. I'm going to do what I've done. It's worked for me. He's never been like that. He wants to get better. He wants constant feedback. If there's something that he feels like he's lacking in, he's going to stay after. He's going to work on it. He wants the brutal truth from you no matter what, which I appreciate. It makes him very fun to coach because if I see something that I think can help him, I know that that's feedback he wants. That's not something where he's going to go, all right. He wants to know, okay, well, what are you seeing? What do you think I can do to fix that? What do you think I can do to be more consistent with that? And it's why the longer he's played, you watch. I mean, I thought he played some of the very best football of his career this year in all phases. I mean, this guy, I can't explain how rare it is to have a guard that factors the way he does in the run game in a bunch of different roles. Mm-hmm. Like he can pull, he can reach, he can double team and knock guys off the ball. He can slip through and get to second level. He can factor in space on screens. Like he can do all these different things. And then you can hand him your most difficult matchup in the interior and pass protection, and he can neutralize that player. Like that's just such a rare, that's rare air to be in, And so he's really, when he looks back on his career, he won't have any regrets because, man, he pours everything he has into it every day to maximize what he has. And it's just it's awesome to have a guy like that in your group, leading your group. And it's just really cool to see, a guy that cares that much and gives everything he has into something that he loves and he's passionate about.
I want to talk about like that. You mentioned how much he cares about the Colts. How does that, when you have a player who's at that level of Q in terms of talent, when you have that kind of backbone of caring about the franchise the way that he does, is that where sometimes these great players become, they reach a level even above greatness when they're so invested in the team that they're on to grow like that?
I think it does, and I think that's one of the things that's unique about our line in general is our line is homegrown. You know, when you look at the fact that these players that we have either been drafted here, signed here as undrafted free agents, or they were acquired here at a very early time in their career on a futures contract, or hey, they were cut out of a camp and they were claimed here. They developed on the practice squad here. You know, these are all guys that have kind of come up as Colts. And so playing here means a lot to them. Being part of this franchise and this city means a lot to them. It's not just another stop on the map for those guys or on their journey. It is the destination. And I think that matters. You know, I think that's a special thing when, you know, putting a horseshoe on means something to you. And I'm very blessed, and we are very blessed to have a group of players that, I mean, you know, just again speaking for my group, where it means a lot to those guys because, you know, this is the place that gave them their opportunity, that believed in them. This is, you know, and you know, for Quenton, this is the place that made him a top 10 draft pick, and you know, set him up to have this great career and believed in him and took a chance on him. You know, you go down the list of the guys we have, it's the same way. You know, I mean, whether it's Tanner, you know, whether it's Bernie, Jalen Travis, Maddie, you know, I mean, these guys are all, Braden Smith, you know, they've all been Colts from the first day to now. And I think it's a special thing. You know, it's rare in the modern game, but it's a really special thing. And playing for this city and this team means something to those guys.
It's also been like that for a little while here. I mean, it predates you with a guy like Anthony Costanzo,
That's right,
who played a long time here, and then you had Ryan Kelly come in.
Exactly right.
And then Quenton comes in, and it's almost like this kind of feedback loop of like it just keeps building and building and building.
Yeah, and I think that's special because it builds a bond between the city, the fans, the team, and this group of players. That, you know, a lot of times, obviously, the linemen don't have stats. You're not drafting them on your fantasy team. You know,
I would do fantasy offensive line.
It would be pretty cool if we could find some way to quantify what they're doing. That'd be pretty sweet. But you're probably not doing that. You know, when most people are playing Madden, they're not trading for offensive linemen. They're trading for, you know, a receiver or a pass rusher or a corner or something cool. And you know, all of a sudden, you know, this group. For them to kind of have that bond with our fan base and the team and the city, I think is really cool. They're a special group of guys, and to me, I just love when, you know, especially the offensive line. The offensive line has to be a group built on toughness, togetherness. It's got to be a group that's reliable, and I love the fact that group can take on kind of the mentality of this city and be a hardworking, tough group that you can count on. And we take a lot of pride in that as a unit, of being a group that, you know, we're very careful about the players we acquire. The guys that we do acquire, we have a lot of belief in, we invest a lot of time in, and the thought process with those guys is always with a vision to get them ready to contribute to this group, so that when we do undergo losses, you know, like happens to everyone in the league, whether that's Will and Ryan leaving in free agency last year, whether that's Braden going down with an injury this year during the season, whether that's Tanner having to miss a couple of games and Danny steps in, we're able to replace with homegrown Colts, with guys that we've had here, that we've developed, that we've you know, brought up in the culture of our O-line room and this system and this franchise. And they're ready to take the next step and kind of establish the next wave of starters or players for us, which is important.
How have you kind of honed your coaching style within that room? Because you coach one of the biggest rooms by just like number of players on a football team, but you've got to coach everyone from Quenton Nelson to, you know, a guy who just maybe was signed to the practice squad a week ago. You got to coach them to get ready to play in a similar way. But they're all different personalities. They're different people. How do you coach them to then, when they do have to step in, be that 5-as-1 on the line?
Well, I would say the first thing is I'm very genuine with all the guys, and I'm not afraid to be myself. Listen,
players will see through it
There's no doubt. Yeah. Like, I'm not afraid to be myself. Listen, I can be a little bit quirky. I can definitely be an emotional guy. I always tell them, listen, I got red hot Italian blood in my veins. Sometimes it comes out. But I'm not afraid to be myself. I'm not afraid to laugh with the guys. I'm not afraid to get on them. I'm not afraid to laugh at myself. And I try to take that approach and then, extend that to being as genuine as I can with every single player and give them the truth. I think too often people are afraid to just be direct with players and give them the honest feedback that they need. My belief is I want to be as detailed as I possibly can with these guys, and I want to give them honest, direct feedback always, so they know where they stand, they know what they're doing well, which I think is very important. I think so many times we highlight the things that someone does not do well. To me, it's more valuable when you point out when they do it right. So I like to do that. Hey, what's it look like when you're doing it right? What are you doing well? Now, what are the things that we need to be more consistent with? What are the things that we maybe need to correct or fine-tune a bit? Show them these things. Show them examples of what that looks like when it's done properly, either from a teammate or maybe somebody across the league that's a similar player to them, and try to go about building it that way and then work on that, And like you said, everybody's personality is a little different. Mine certainly is too. So I encourage you guys. I want them to be themselves. I want them to have. I want them to enjoy coming to work in that room. I want them to feel like it's a place where they're going to get better. They can be themselves. They can have fun, and they can chase a dream in there. And I think that's really important. But to me, it's always about I want their time here to be time well spent. In terms of getting them better, helping them contribute to a winning team here for us, and then having them enjoy the experience of playing here and being a Colt, because it's a special time in their life. So for me, it's about being honest with them, being genuine with them, being direct, and holding every guy accountable to the standard we have in the room, which is to be the best line in the league. I've said that since I got here. As long as I am here, that'll be the standard in that room. I have no we're not here to try and play for second best with that stuff. We want to be the best line in this league. We want to be an anchor of this team, kind of an engine that propels this team into the playoffs and to winning this division. And the way that we do that is every man's accountable to that. So whether that's Quenton, whether that's an undrafted, whether that's a guy that's been here 2 years or 10 years, whether it's a guy making a lot of money, whether it's a guy on a rookie contract, doesn't matter. They're all accountable to that standard. The details are the same for all of them. The little things are the big things. And at the end of the day, the reason that's important is because we're going to count on all of them. So at some point, those guys that are sitting in the back of the room are going to be brought to the front of the room. The guys that are on the scout team are going to be playing for you. And if you haven't coached them as hard as you're coaching your starters, if you haven't demanded it from them, then when their moment comes up, you've done them a disservice. I don't believe in that. So I want to prepare every guy in that room so that when their moment comes and they have a chance to contribute to this group, they are ready to do it at a high level. We expect no drop off, and we keep rolling. And we've played a lot of games here with backup players for 3 straight years, and it's something that we take pride in, of having the next guy ready to step up and fill in. Braden unfortunately suffers an injury this year. Jalen goes in there. I thought he played really well when he went in there. I was very proud of what he did. But what people don't see is the work that went into that. Jalen was constantly improving throughout the season on the scout team. He was coming in Friday and Saturday mornings early every week to meet with me individually and look at his scout reps. What can I be doing better? What do I have to, all right, I did this well. I got better at this. This is the next step for me. He was meeting with our assistant line coach, Chris Watt. He was doing things to help maximize his ability and get himself in the best possible position so that when that did come up, he was ready to hit the ground running. And that's kind of the thought process with the whole group. I tell them all the time, but every guy is just vitally important.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, about Jalen Travis, but also I think about that Seahawks game where Braden's out and then Bernie goes out with the elbow injury. You got Luke Tenuta coming in, who I don't believe had ever played an offensive snap in the NFL in 3 years. And he comes in and he did a totally fine job in that game. Yeah.
Against obviously what we're seeing is a top front.
Super Bowl defense.
It's a top front with a lot of very, very good players. They can rush the passer at a very high level. They're a great run defense. And Luke went in there and battled, did his job, and again, I was really proud of him. And what was cool was seeing how excited he was to get out there, how much that meant to him to get out there and play meaningful plays in a big game on the road like that for this team. And Luke's another one. I mean, he worked tirelessly since we got him, and all he wanted was an opportunity. So he's somebody that same way. You know, I mean, we've been working with him throughout this entire year. He's been working extra after practice. Man, he's been grinding, trying to get his opportunity. And when he was called upon, he was able to take full advantage, which was awesome. So, I mean, we've had, obviously Tuck started games for us this year. Danny started games for us this year. You know, I know Blake suffered the injury in preseason, but Blake started a bunch of games for us here. You think back to last year, the two new full-time starters, they were rookies that were backups that were starting games for us with Tanner and Matt, and how that paid dividends for this year. Development's not linear. I think sometimes people think that it just goes like this. Yep. It doesn't. It's like anything that we all pursue in our life that's worthwhile. You need to learn. And the way you learn is by doing. And, listen, sometimes you have to fail to learn. Sometimes guys have to go out there and they have to endure hard times. They have to endure setbacks in order to take the step forward that they need to take. But if they're resilient and they're humble and they're made of the right stuff and they're looking to learn from it, that's the response you want to see from the players and from anybody. And I'm proud of my group that way, because they're all, they're very much made that way, where they don't let a mistake define them, and they're looking forward to the next opportunity as to how that, learning from that can make them better, and I think that's a very important thing that sometimes gets lost is, I think we watch these young players sometimes and we go, oh, well, he had a tough game, so it's not, he's not good enough. That's not true. I mean, there's a lot of examples of really good players, enduring some growing pains early in their careers or having an off game and then learning from that and becoming very good players. And like I said, I mean, you're seeing it across the league with some of the quarterbacks. Obviously, Sam Darnold's playing in the Super Bowl, and I was lucky enough to be around Sam when I was in Carolina. And he's a great guy, but his story has not been linear.
You're around Daniel in New York.
That's exactly right.
Look at that
his
too,
story is not linear. So, Baker Mayfield's story is not linear. So, you go through, there's a lot of these guys where it's not just a straight line to, I started here and I just climbed the whole time. I tell the guys all the time, you want to be doing this, but it doesn't always look like this. Sometimes it's, I got to go down to go up, and then I'm here. And, all of a sudden I look at the totality of everything and I'm doing this and I'm getting better, and then I'm climbing. It's easy to stagnate. It's really hard to climb. So, anything I think that's worthwhile is like that.
Within that, though, is your role as a coach. Something I went back and I listened to an interview that Matt Taylor and I did with you when you got hired here. And you talked a lot about how your dad was direct but not demeaning.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes in like our society, sometimes direct can turn into demeaning almost like very quickly with the way that it's delivered.
Sure.
How have you learned to navigate being direct with your feedback, so when you do have one of those, you start to go down, that you can then help kind of guide them to go back up and keep that trend line going up?
Well, I would just say I always try to reinforce to the players that everything that I say to them is coming from a place of trying to help them and be of service to them. I believe that my function here is to be of service to them. The day I'm not direct and honest with them is the day I'm not fulfilling that obligation to them, and that's something that I take really seriously. Obviously, it's what I'm passionate about, and it's my career, but what I take really seriously is it's their career. And this is their opportunity to earn money, to take care of their families, to chase their dreams, to be the best they can. It's not like you get a do-over at this career. They get one opportunity at this career, and I want to help them maximize it and get everything they want out of it. And so I feel like I'm not doing my part if I don't tell them the truth and I'm not straight up with them. That being said, I've just never seen the value of piling on unnecessarily to somebody. Guys want to get it. They want to do it right. They're trying the best they can to do it right. Sometimes they just need guidance, and sometimes, man, they might need a little, they might need a little kick to get going sometimes. And like I said, I mean, I am guilty of I am guilty of being a fiery Italian at times, and I can get animated, but it comes from a place of I want the best for them, I care about them, and I just don't want to see them settle for less than what I know they're capable of. I know how talented each one of them is, and I see a lot in them that sometimes they don't see in themselves at first. And the way I can best serve them is to do whatever I believe I need to do to get them to see that. Sometimes they have to. Belief is such a powerful thing, and sometimes, oftentimes we have a lot more in us. We're capable of a lot more than we even believe, and that belief is so important. So that's the approach I try to take with them. Listen, I'm going to be direct with you. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you what I see. It's all with a vision of trying to get you better. It's all with a vision of trying to help you grow. It's all with a vision of trying to be of service to you and to maximize this career that you have, because I care about you, and because I care about, your career and your family. And that's important to me. For
you two, and I want to kind of end on this kind of topic, but just talking about family. Obviously you came from a coaching family. Mm-hmm. Your dad, Tony Sparano, was, you go around the league and every single building has a person who crossed paths with your dad or who worked with your dad and who speaks so highly of him. But also he was your dad. And, you're growing up, moving around from New Haven to Miami to, these different spots in between, Cleveland. What did you learn about being a dad from your dad being a coach?
I learned the value of being present when you're home. My dad did a great job of, listen, I didn't always see my dad a lot, especially during the season. Mm-hmm. At the time, I didn't quite understand. You're young, you don't understand what he's sacrificing to try and give you a better life. Obviously now I do because I'm in that role with my kids. But what he did do a really good job of is when he was around, man, he was really present. I try to do the same thing. I miss a lot of stuff with my kids. I know I'm not there as often as some other parents might be there. But what I try to do is be present and let them know that I love them and I'm proud of them when I'm there. So I try to maximize the time I can. I try to let them know they're loved, let them know I'm proud of them. When I can help them or when I've got to correct them, I do the same thing. I'm honest with my kids, and it's because I care about them. And I'd say the biggest thing I learned from my dad as a coach is just, man, he was never afraid to be himself. He was really authentic, and he cared about people. He wasn't afraid to let people know how he felt. Relationships mattered to him. I think that's why, listen, it's been a while, and unfortunately, since he's passed now. Josh, I think we're coming up on 8 years now, and I think that's why, even with that time lapse, you're able to still hear people talk about him the way that they do. Former players, former coaches. It's because he cares. He cared genuinely about the people that he worked with. And he put his heart into that. And so I watched him do that, and I thought, man, if I ever get a chance to do that, that's the way that I want to do that, and I just never think there's something wrong with letting someone know how you feel, and letting them know that you care about them. Like I said, part of my nature is, look, I'm emotional. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm not afraid of that. So, my guys, like I said, my guys know that I care about them. Just the way that my father's players knew that he cared about them. And I think that's really important. This job is really hard. Being a player in this league is a really demanding job. Being a coach in this league is a really demanding job. And obviously they're different. They're demanding in different ways. I think having an environment where the people you're going through it with care about you, and are genuinely there for you, I think that makes all the difference in the world. And I think that's sometimes I think that stuff kind of falls by the wayside, and I just never want that to be the case with the group that I coach or with how I do things. So my dad never ever took shortcuts that way. He just cared about people, and it was always about football was kind of his vehicle to help people.
Mm-hmm.
It was his way to help change people's lives, and I try to always keep that in perspective. When I think back.
That's great. It's been a great conversation, Tony. Really enjoyed it. Tony Sparano Jr., Colts offensive line coach. Thanks for joining me here on the pod.
Appreciate it, JJ. Thank you so much.
The Colts Show is presented by Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PC, where every day is game day. Greatness in the NFL starts long before kickoff. It's built in the quiet hours of preparation and the discipline to turn insights into action. The Indianapolis Colts rely on Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs to turn preparation into performance. With real-time AI-powered insights right on the sideline, coaches and players can make smarter, faster decisions when it matters most. From the field to the front office, Microsoft Surface Copilot Plus PCs are transforming how the Indianapolis Colts prepare, strategize, and win. This isn't just about football, it's about unlocking potential wherever the game is played. Hey Colts fans, the Colts Sunday night 7-on-7 series is returning. Boys tackle and dedicated girls flag can train in an open gym format across select Sundays this winter. Presented by Forte Sports Medicine and Orthopedics with support from Gatorade and the Gridiron Foundation. Sign up now at Colts.com/SN7on7.